Hi, welcome to Catagania. It's Dice Swan here. I cut out a silhouette of birds with my silhouette machine on some acetate, and I'm just getting out some colours of distress ink that I'm going to use to colour a couple of the birds onto a piece of card. So I'm just grabbing the brown, I think that was Vintage Photos, and just using a mini sponge to place that into the areas where I wanted the brown to show. Now I'm getting one of the lovely purples and just adding that. Sorry, I can't remember the colours right off top. I'll add them to my page. And some yellow. And I think that blends really well together, those two colours. So again, using the yellow, I'm actually adding it to the second bird, and as you see, it's actually blended a bit of the brown through, which adds a different toning into the colour. And now some blue, just to add to the body of this particular bird, and I think the colour mixes work out quite well. So I'm just getting one of my archival pens, just drew around the edges so I can actually see the outline of the bird, adding an eye so at least the bird can see where it's going. So as I trace around there, add the eye, make it a little bit larger so it can be seen. So now I'm actually just going to add a couple of little features, including the layout of where the wing possibly would be, just to give it a little bit more depth. So, and I had a spot where I hadn't inked, so I'm just adding a little bit more ink there just to fill in that gap. So now I'm going to fussy cut these two birds, and I'll be back in a second with the fussy cutted things. But firstly, I actually used the Tim Holtz glaze, which actually stops the distress inks, etc., from being active later. So if you put it on, then you polish it off, and it actually makes them waterproof. So I will finish photo cutting now. So here the two birds are at the top, and I'm going to grab a piece of card and fold in half for my birthday card layout, and I'm just deciding whether I'm going to place one bird, and then I'm just going to get some wording to do a happy birthday. So I'll get out my stamp press here and place happy bird day, it actually says, so I thought that was quite relevant. Add my magnets and work out where I'm going to place it, some archival ink and stamp down. Wasn't quite clear, so again I do another stamp. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen how these particular stamping tools work, and it does help lots to use them. So I've stamped that. I was just using the paper that I used to cut out, so there's no paper wastage then. So I'll cut out the best of those two prints for now, in a second after I clean up the area, and using these Fisker scissors, which I absolutely love because they're a lot easier on hands to do a lot of this fussy cutting, because I'm not a big fan of fussy cutting, but I do it as required. So I decided to actually place both birds on the card because I actually thought it actually looked better, and I was only in an R where to place the actual stamping, and I'm looking at different colours to actually add a second card front to the page. So I went and grabbed another white part of card, and I'm actually going to cut it to actually be the second. And what I've actually decided to do is actually sponge on some more distress ink in behind that card, and then stick that white card on top with the birds. So I'm actually cutting off the corners. I found my corner cutter was actually full of cut. I had forgotten to empty it, so I'm then just cutting all the corners, so I've actually got that curved edging on it, and this time I remember to empty the punch. So now this is done, I'm actually going to grab my card that I'm going to be using. I actually pulled a piece that I cut off to create the second layer, and now grabbing a pink and just one of the minis again, and I'm just going slowly adding that to the page. And I don't really think it's actually dark enough, so in a second I'll actually grab a second colour and add to it, which is actually a violet. Grabbing another pad so I'll work out and get some more Velcros and add these to the pad so I don't lose them. So then I actually use the dusky pink to actually finalise, and the merged colours actually came up really well, and I can remove that piece of card, which means that I didn't do any accidental stamping on the back of the card. So now I'm just adding some to the edging of that card just to highlight it, and that was using the blue to what I used in one of the birds. So now I'm going to grab some double-sided tape in a second. Well, then I decided I was going to add some thread, so I've got a blue which is very similar to the blue that I used on the edging, and I'm sticking that down with just some double-sided tape. So I didn't have any washi on hand, so I just used that. So adding my double-sided tape so I can stick the card onto the front of the greeting card. And when I've actually added it all, I'll grab the tool and push it down firmly so it's a lot easier to pull the back off the double-sided. And I found when I stuck it down, because it was inked, it actually didn't stick as well as you normally would like, because there's actually a surface that hasn't been sealed. So I'll take up all the backs of the double-sided tape and place that down, and there we have some blue lines across the white, which just adds a little bit more dimension. And adding the birds, it looks like they're actually sitting on some wires. So number one, I'm going to use the foam tape, so he's actually going to be sitting higher. I'm just cutting off the bits that will be seen from the front so it doesn't. So now I'm going to grab some of this as a glue and just stick them on the card front. And again, I'm going to, so sticking on the second bird now, and he's a little bit higher, and I decided to add some more gluing on underneath so the actual card, the second layer would actually stay on the greeting card. So now I'm going to have a look at the wording, and I decided to actually place them and do a direct print. I ummed and ahed about doing embossing, but I thought it would look better with the actual black. So stamping that, and just because it weren't sticking to the actually stamp the mat, I actually placed them on and then just pressed down. So now I'm using some liquid pearls. This one a bit blocked and have to get it going. And we'll place 3 dots at the top and 3 dots at the bottom, which is something I generally do. I do love liquid pearls anyway. So here is my happy birthday card. I hope you enjoyed this short little video. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe and have a good day. Be safe and be happy. Bye.